I want Hilary Swank in the next Terminator movie so bad.
There is nothing in this world that you give me to do to hug a robot.
It's because it's so incredible and intricate that it's impossible not to notice.
Music's the core of this movie.
I was born again to watch this movie.
You'll find redeeming things and you'll be thinking about it for a long time afterwards.
There was no bone saw.
Just John hamming it up over here.
2.5 out of 3 of us recommend it.
Everybody loves talking about movies. Let's talk about movies.
Good evening, one and all. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Pause, Rewind, Play podcast this week. We're talking a movie that we didn't even announce to you at all, but we're going to go for it. So we're talking Get Out. Came out in 2017, and it's a great movie. But before we kind of get in, I need to announce who's here with me. I'm not in a room by myself. I'm not that crazy yet, but here we are. First off, over on my left, we have Vince.
Yo, what's up?
Vince Cena! He's in the house! Bringing signature moves.
I was secretly hoping you were going to have me introduce myself. I was going to be like, John Cena!
Sometimes I just feel like that's I do it and it's like, why don't I just say your name? That's why I was like, I'm going to say it this time. And then over to my right, we have Josh.
Stone Cold Steve Austin. Which I'm not going to lie. I like John Cena better, but I've been watching The Good Place recently, and it's been getting a lot into Eleanor. She's a Stone Cold Steve Austin fan, and they always talk about how those two groups of people hate each other. So
I thought you were going to say I thought you were going to say that Steve Austin shows up in that show. I was like, well, that's taking a twist.
You're like, what? Stone Cold Steve Austin does deserve to go to The Good Place, though. He wouldn't even stop by The Bad Place.
How far are you into The Good Place?
I'm only on season 2.
All right.
Well, then we can't say something.
I won't say anything.
Yeah, don't go too far. Because, it's season 3 right now, or is it season 4?
I don't know.
Season 4, it's the last season.
Yeah. So I've seen season 3. I haven't started the new one.
Don't get too far in there because really
don't
we're
worry.
just kind of behind.
That was just it. It's just a little funny thing where she's always bagging on John Cena because she's like, no, John Cena fans are jealous of Stone Cold Steve Austin fans because of this and this and this. So, anyways, yo, what's up, guys?
Well, now that we've introduced ourselves in our WWE names, I don't really have one, but this is Casey. We're going to talk a little bit about Get Out, but let's talk the week in movies. Vince, what did you watch this week?
So Michael came over the other night, and
I miss him.
Yeah, I know. He needs to come on. It's been a episode or 2.
I really want him to come do an episode on The Witch.
Yeah, we got to get that done before the end of October.
Yeah, we need to get it done soon.
Yeah. Anyway, he came over and he introduced us to a movie called... He's got this list. It's 31 horror movies to watch throughout all of October.
Watch one a night?
Yeah, kind of a thing. And one of the ones on his list was a movie called Southbound. So he came over and we popped that thing on. It's on Hulu. It's surprisingly good. It's not an incredible horror movie, but it's an anthology film. So it's a horror movie with 5 different stories that tie into each story kind of ties into the next story.
Huh.
And it doesn't feel really high budget. Do either of you guys watch Orange is the New Black?
No, my wife does.
My wife does.
Okay, there's a character named Loose Check in it. He's the kind of the handyman of the prison. I really like the character. Randomly shows up in this show. He's the only person that I recognize. Everyone else is a bunch of no-namers.
Isn't it crazy when that always happens though? Because I have one later, but that's
these people who don't have a career, and then all of a sudden they explode, and you go back and you see them in random stuff. Yeah. Don't have a career, they're just not recognized. Anyway, Southbound is surprisingly good. I actually really enjoyed it. Feels low budget. It just was fun. It was a fun little horror movie. And then me and my wife were flipping around looking for a horror movie to watch, and we stumbled on Netflix's new Stephen King adaptation. It's based on a novella by Stephen King.
Is this The Grass?
Yeah, it's called In the Tall Grass. We started it based on my wife seeing that Patrick Wilson was in it, I think is his name, Patrick Wilson. He's in the Insidious movies. She really likes him. He's also in Conjuring. She's like, oh, he's in this. I love his horror movies. Let's put this on. We watch the movie. It ends, and I'm like, what? And then Stephen King's name popped up, and I was like, oh, it's a Stephen King thing.
Did it have a bad ending?
Not a bad ending, just a lot of like, what is going on, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really well shot. Not my favorite Stephen King adaptation. If you want to watch a good Stephen King one on Netflix, check out Gerald's Game.
Gerald's Game.
Ooh, I love that one.
It's a good one.
That one's intense too. Holy cow. That one gets crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, that's it. That's all we watched a ton of Breaking Bad. So we're getting close to the end.
Segue, that's where I'm at right now. I'm watching, that's the only other thing besides Get Out, I'm pretty sure that I've watched this week is Breaking Bad. Because, surprise folks, I'm one of the only people in the world who hasn't watched Breaking Bad.
I haven't finished it either.
You haven't finished it?
No.
Yeah, we talked about this last week. I was disappointed in both.
Oh,
of
yeah?
you.
Well, so here we go. So I'm doing it,
I
guys.
disappoint my own mother too, okay? It happens sometimes.
So I'm watching Breaking Bad, and I'm loving it. Like, still in the first season, because obviously still got a lot going on, but I'm digging it. Hardcore. And the thing I was going to mention earlier was, what's his name? Matt Jones shows up. He plays Badger in Breaking Bad. And so apparently he becomes a pretty big-ish part of the show. But, like, I just barely saw him, and it's just like, oh, hey, there's, like, that guy that's Dwight's cousin in The Office. You know?
Remember when he also showed up in Brightburn?
Oh yeah, he's like that one. He's his uncle or whatever,
yeah.
and he gets killed.
Yeah.
Spoilers. Sorry.
Oh, yep.
For those of you who wanted to know anything about Brightburn, there it is. But also, go check it out.
Yeah. If you don't even know what Brightburn is, well then go check it out and then listen to our podcast episode about it.
Yes and yes.
So yeah, that was it for me. Just
Are you
getting
loving
into
it so
Breaking
far?
Bad. Oh, I'm loving it. Like, the reason I didn't do it before is because in the very, very first episode, there is like a brief moment of nudity, and I started watching it when I was in high school, and I was like a good little child, and I was like, I can't watch this. This is bad. And then like I find out from every single person who I've told that I haven't watched Breaking Bad over the years, they're like, that's the only time it happens, like in the entire show. And so I'm like, oh, okay.
I had a very similar thing happen to me. My buddy Andy Larson, shout out to him. He brought over the DVD, and he's like, this is before Breaking Bad like really blew up. He's the first person I ever heard talk about it. He brought me the DVD. He's like, you need to watch this movie, this TV show. Popped it in. There was the nudity, and then on top of that, it's just a really, I don't want to say depressing. It's just really like once you just got to the part that with the plate. I got to that, and then the whole like sulfuric acid stuff. I don't know if you got to that stuff yet. And I was just like, I don't know if I can take this. My young, naive self was just like, this is too dark for me. And I put it off to the side and came back when it was deeper into the seasons, once it started really getting popular.
So yeah, looking forward to that, and then looking forward to be able to get in on the conversation of El Camino with everybody.
Me too. I'm excited for that one.
I will watch everything and get caught up because I would love to talk El Camino because I'm curious about it. I'm curious about Jesse.
I do too. I am too. Jesse's such a cool character.
Oh, so yeah.
What'd you watch?
I had a good week. I'm still watching Vikings.
Heyo.
Loving it. Just to the part where they cut off a guy's arm with a freaking hot axe. If you haven't seen it, when you get there, whoa!
They cut off your arm with an axe?
Yeah, actually, that's how I lost my arm, guys. I'm a Viking.
Surprise.
Lost my arm in battle. So my arm's in Valhalla, and I am still here.
Waiting for you in Valhalla.
Yeah. It's chilling with all the Valkyries, and I am here. Not chilling with Valkyries. But this week, I watched a couple of interesting movies. I watched The Orphanage, which is Guillermo del Toro's. Did I talk about this last week? I might have.
No, you didn't.
But, man, it's all in Spanish, and I loved it so much. I don't know if you've seen this.
The ending, right?
Yes. Oh, my gosh.
I'll try not to spoil, but like
I
that
haven't seen
ending,
it
right?
yet.
You need to see it, Josh. You will be like,
Where is it?
boom. It's on Netflix.
Okay, sweet.
So you can watch it, and oh my goodness, that's a great film for being a foreign language film. First off, it is in Spanish, everyone. I think I've already said that, but it keeps you on your toes. Yes, you have to read a little bit, but if you understand a little bit of Spanish, you'll know exactly. They say like the same 60 words.
Okay, if you're really like into today's like movie scene though, you need to be able to get on the train of there are very, very good foreign language films.
This is
and,
true.
And understand that like America just isn't like the center of everything. Like while I understand that so much cinema happens like in America and expands outward through the world, like did y'all see Roma last year? Like that was so good. So just like stuff like that. So
Yeah.
open your minds, people.
There's so many good foreign language film. My favorite foreign language film is a Swedish film called A Man Called Ove. Everyone should watch it. Excellent. Also, we watched a movie called We Have Always Lived in a Castle, or In the Castle. It's a really weird movie. So it's very artsy. It's very cool. It's kind of a thriller, a mystery, and a murder all in one. So it's a good one, but it's a little bit slower paced for some. I enjoyed it, but it was weird. It almost reminded me of a bad trip watching a Wes Anderson movie. Like if you're not in the right...
I actually like that pitch a lot. A bad trip Wes Anderson movie? That would be really interesting.
Holy cow.
So yeah, there is that. So that's really my weekend in movies.
A bad trip Wes Anderson movie. Did you watch? Either you guys see Legion on FX?
No.
That's pretty much what you just described. It's a trip, but it's very Wes Anderson-y in the way that they do it.
Really?
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. The show's cool.
Legion.
Yeah.
I'm writing it down.
It's about Professor X's kid. It's an X-Men show, but it's not focused on. I mean, it's based on a comic. It's comic booky, but it's not. It's trippy.
Is he a bastard? Or is Professor X married at one time?
You know, they never explore it.
Oh, so he's just there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh!
Season 3 just came out, and it's supposed to bring in Professor X for the first time. So I haven't watched it yet.
I was just
Also, Aubrey Plaza's in it. So
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah. I actually almost did start that show just because Aubrey Plaza was in it.
I think you'd really like it, Josh.
Well, it's got Aubrey Plaza, so of course I would like it.
It's also got the Flight of the Conchords guy, Jermaine.
Oh,
Yeah.
does it? I love that. I really want to just rewatch those today because it's been so long since they first came out, right? I want to know how the weird humor stands up. But there are people who still watch it all the time. Like, I watch The Office. I just sold a book, guys, on eBay.
Wow, good job.
Congrats.
But
Yo, also, really quick, shout out to my main man, Patrick Stewart. The dude is, I just looked it up. He's like 70 or 80 years old. I don't remember which. I just remember it was like one of like the... So he was either 70 or 80 years old, and that dude is still kicking it. He's coming out with their new Star Trek series, Picard, which is going to air on CBS All Access starting in January, I think. Mm-hmm. I will buy CBS Access for however long I need to just to be able to watch that.
probably until he dies.
He's
Probably.
79.
79? Okay, so he's almost 80.
Almost 80.
Dude's almost 80, and he is the star of a television show. The main person.
Well, he's
What a
like
guy.
ageless because he's been bald for so long. You don't know how aged he is. It's like Bruce Willis. Like when we just saw him in it's not Split. What just came out? Was it Split?
No, Glass.
Glass. He just looked the same as he's always looked without hair. And I know he's an old man.
Bruce Willis is an American hero.
He's like the George Washington of his day.
I started The Fifth Element after all of our talks about Fifth Element stuff on the podcast. The other night I was like, I wasn't tired, and I had just finished playing Borderlands, and I had just drinking an energy drink, and I was like, I need to do something. So I put on The Fifth Element. Only got about 25 minutes in and started falling asleep, and I was like, no, I need to be awake for this classic. This classic Bruce Willis masterpiece.
Downed another energy drink. Let's go.
I wish. I put it on the back burner. I will be watching it at some point.
We
soon.
should watch it and talk it. Maybe in the new year we should do that.
We definitely need to
Whatever you guys want.
at least watch.
We
We'll have
talked
some
about
good-
it and we did that weapons thing and people commented on it like not too long ago again. And so if you want to look and tell us what your favorite sci-fi movie weapon is, it's somewhere on Instagram and Twitter. But I was going to bring this up, guys, and I forgot about it. That I watched this too. Wonder Woman. That's the best DC superhero film yet. I watched it, and I know you're going to debate this because actually Aquaman is the best one.
Oh, I blew out the mic on purpose there to hope that no one would be able to hear you say that. We're going to lose credibility, Casey.
I'm okay with that. I just smile through all the weird things. No, but do you know what I thought was kind of crazy? I watched Wonder Woman with my wife. I just turned it on the other day. I was doing laundry. And straight up, I remember thinking that Chris Pine is going to overshadow Gal Gadot in this. And it was so perfectly balanced where she was the queen of the film. And so I just had to shout out
Dude,
that.
y'all got to stop mentioning like all of my celebrity crushes like on the same episode. My wife's gonna. Well, if my wife listened to this, she's gonna think that I'm like not thinking about her because I mentioned Gal Gadot, Aubrey Plaza. If you freaking throw ScarJo in there, then we're completely off.
Oh, and very excited about the new Black Widow movie coming out. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
Yo, that David Harbour, it's gonna be off the charts. And if we leave Joker out of it, because I don't know if I could put that in there yet, Wonder Woman is the best DC superhero movie.
I don't agree. It's a great one. I really liked it. It's
What
up
would
in the
you
top.
say?
What is your favorite?
What?
You're like the Green Lantern, aren't you? You're gonna say the Green Lantern
it's
with
not the Green
Ryan
Lantern.
Reynolds.
Yo, I like that one though.
After
like it.
seeing Joker, though, it's a whole new conversation.
No, Joker's like,
Yeah, it's probably the best done one. I mean, and again, are we talking extended universe, or are we talking like Christopher Nolan? Like, is Christopher Nolan stuff involved? Like, it's a whole thing. If you're talking like modern, I still think Man of Steel is my favorite.
I
do.
forgot about that.
I love Man of Steel.
I
so
love Man of
much.
Steel, but I thought Wonder Woman was just great because I like World War stuff. So,
Uh-huh.
but I also like Farm Boys, and that's where I'm from. The farm. This sounded
Wonder
really
Woman-
weird to
I
say
really
that.
I really liked Wonder Woman too. Don't get me wrong.
Yo, I'm
it's just not my favorite of them all.
Super pumped for Wonder Woman 1984.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be crazy good. That one poster that's like all those colors, dude, that gets me hyped.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
I'm ready.
Is this going to be like 1984?
We need to look into something though. Birds of Prey is coming up here soon. I heard it's gonna be rated R.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still not into that.
That I'm confused because it was a very PG-13-esque trailer, and so when I heard it was going to be R, I did not believe it. I mean, they're losing a big portion of their audience by making this a rated R movie. Like 90% of the teenage girls who want to dress up as Harley Quinn won't be able to get into the movie, kind of a thing.
Actually, we were
Confused
sitting
me.
in a movie, and they escorted 2 kids out like a couple weeks ago, and I was like,
Yo, so
they inspect people still?
do you have to be a certain age to get in, or do you just have to be with someone of a certain age?
You have to be with someone. of a
With
certain-
someone.
Okay, see, that's why
Yes, DC's
I
Birds of
thought-
Prey will be rated
I
R.
thought that my
It might be parent or guardian, actually. I can't remember. I'm 32.
well, because that's why I thought that my brother and sister-in-law just liked me and wanted to be chummy, but I guess they just want me to go with them so that they can get into Joker.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
going to watch Joker again tomorrow with them because it's $5 Tuesday. It's a crazy good movie. Gonna watch it again. If you haven't listened to that episode, listen to it. So I'm going with them, but that's why they just want me to be there so they
Yeah,
can
they
get
wanna
in.
get you in.
They want
They
to
want
get
you
in.
to get
They
them in.
really like you, Josh. Don't let this
They
rated
don't,
R
Josh,
movie.
They
shit.
don't like you.
They're like, Josh is our boy. No, guys, I think we're to the point now, and I'm sorry to interject, where we got to talk this movie up. We got some words to say about Get Out. A little bit about this movie, just so you guys know. I think this is Jordan Peele's like real directorial debut
Yes.
as a full feature film, right? So literally, they built this movie on a $4.5 million budget, which is
crazy.
amazing. And then at the box office,
Dude, that house looked like it was worth $4.5 million.
I wonder how much it costs, because I've seen this where you'll be driving through like Hollywood or through some random town, and literally they'll have like a street blocked off and it'll just say like shooting a movie, and they're just renting people's houses. So I'm curious how much that costs. Like, could I fix up my house so a horror movie could be done here? Probably not. It's too small. But
Well, dude, like the freaking, sorry, not to go off topic, but there's like a little old lady who lives in Chicago, like in downtown, like the hood Chicago, that they use her house to film Shameless, the TV show. Dude, she makes bank.
Oh, really?
She like goes, and they pay for her, but she could pay for it on her own now. She goes and like lives in London while they shoot, and then she comes back, and she still lives in this
That's
like
awesome.
little house that's like right next to the train tracks in like the middle of the hood in Chicago. We went and visited there when we were there.
That's
So,
cool.
I was like, that's super cool.
I just want to throw out that there are negatives to this, though. Yeah, you're gonna make a lot of money, but if your house takes off in a blockbuster and everyone recognizes it, you're gonna have tourists dropping by your house all the time. I'm gonna call back to Breaking Bad again. I don't want to spoil anything for you, Josh, but at one point a pizza falls on top of their house.
I knew about that. I've
It's
heard about that all the time.
It is a common thing for people to come to this house, this real life house, and throw a pizza up on this little old lady's roof, and she kept having to take pizzas off the roof over and over and over again. So there are the negatives, but also I would love my house to be in the movie.
and also the murder house from American Horror Story, the same type of thing happens. People like throw creepy crap on that lawn all the time. I saw that when I was in LA. But they're literally, if you look on Atlas Obscura, it's like, do not visit this house. The owners are not friendly.
They do not want you here.
But with this movie, though, $4.5 million budget, and they made $255.4 million.
Holy shoot. Could you imagine like making 50 times. What is that? That's like 50 times the amount of money you spent on that.
So would you take an upfront sum for this movie or take the royalties after it makes money?
I think that if you were an actor coming into it, you would have taken like the upfront, because while you believe in Jordan Peele, at the same time, like especially if you didn't know the script or anything, you would have been like, who knows? It's his directorial debut. It's a pretty small budget movie. Like,
And he comes from comedy. Like, it's kind of taking a risk here. It's like, oh, I'm going to go with this comedian and do a horror movie. Maybe it'll take off. Maybe it won't.
this
out it's
horror
the biggest
movie
thing
that's
of the
about
year.
like racist America.
Yeah.
How is this gonna work?
Oh yeah, by the way, we're gonna talk spoilers this whole time. So just so you know, we're to the point now where we might throw out some spoilers.
Yep.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, that's crazy. But also going into this movie was so well laid out that they even got dozens of nominations for awards, and they actually ended up winning an Oscar.
Oscars.
Josh, you're the Oscar man. What Oscar did they win?
I love the Oscars, and even if you guys don't want to, I will do my own mini episode about who we think is going to win the Oscars.
No,
and,
that'd be fun.
And who we want to be nominated and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I don't know anything
ready.
about.
We should do a betting pool. Whoever we can put down our
All our
who we think's gonna
guesses.
win, and then whoever gets the most correct has
Wins.
to. The other two have to buy a pizza or something.
sounds good.
Speaking of betting pool, Josh, I still owe you $20 for our fantasy league.
Just $10.
Oh, it's $10. Yes.
Anyway, so they won the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay, and I was so pumped because I was already happy that they were getting their Oscar nominations, and I was hoping for a win because this movie was so original and so good. And when they won that, I was like, whoosh, yes, yes, yes. They deserved it. And I mean, we're going to get into it, but I just loved this movie all the way. And the writing is one of the main things of it, which is why I was so glad that it won that Oscar.
Ditto. I don't know if that fits right there, but yeah, I don't know if that fits right there, but we're gonna go with it. Here's a question I have right off the bat. Why do you think that this horror movie is one that anyone can relate to day to day? Because I feel like it is.
Because we live in America.
Yeah.
This is America.
And that's like a funny comment, but at the same time, like it's true. Whereas obviously, while like the actual physical actions that are shown in the movie don't happen, you know, we don't have white scientists taking out people's brains and putting them into black people.
Are you sure?
But yeah, and I
We
shouldn't
just saw
say
it.
that.
They stopped him.
Oh yeah.
Did you not watch the movie? It stopped.
Oh.
He stopped. Well, we don't anymore in 2017, though. Yeah, but so they don't have people taking out brains and putting them in African American people, but we do have like a lot of the same themes that they run in during the movie, where while people a lot of times can be racist and view things like in different lights, they can also be envious or different things like that of people who they have different prejudices towards. So I thought it was a really big as far as themes go and everything like that. And so that was why it was a big part of it, is because we live in America today. While I know that pretty much everyone is pushing for like a better America, less racism and everything like that, obviously there are problems that still exist in the world today. And so since we live in that world, I think it was great because while it's a horror film, that's a big part of America too. You know, everyone loves going and seeing a good spooky movie. It also relayed those in a really interesting and a new, like such an original way that I thought it was really good. And that's why everyone loved it and everyone could relate to it.
Yeah, and so this is my second time seeing the movie. I saw it once in theaters, and then I saw it night before last night, something like that. I don't want to say I related to the antagonists of this movie, but I could see kind of where they came from this time around. I'm getting older. I mentioned earlier that I'm 32 years old. I'm still a kid, but you know, I'm getting older in life. And so I'm
hurts.
watching this, and I'm watching some of the performances of some of these characters, of these young guys playing. We're in spoilers, right?
Yeah.
So Andre, one of the characters, he's the first guy in the movie who gets captured and disappears, right? Shows up halfway through the movie, and he is acting weird. Like, just the way he talks, his mannerisms, the way he dresses, all this kind of stuff is just weird.
He dresses
and
like an old
off-putting.
white dude.
He dresses like an old white dude, you know? The first time I saw it, you watch this and you're like, why are these people acting so weird? After this time around, seeing it for the second time, you know that this is an old white man in a young African American's body. And you knowing that and watching this performance, it's so much different because he is acting like the way an old white man would act, or the way an old white man would talk, you know? So I'm watching this movie and I'm like, okay, what can I kind of take away from this, you know? And I was like, age. I don't want to get old. If I could take someone's body, I don't want to take someone's body, but it's like, oh, I can see why they're doing this. They want to live forever. They're kind of scared of death. They want to experience life all over again. And the appeal of kind of like you said, being jealous of someone's life and wanting to experience another culture or something like that. Like if we get a second chance in life, are we going to want to do the exact same thing that we did before? Or are we going to experience in a whole different way from another person's point of view, you know?
And so that sort of brought up a question that I wanted to ask you guys, is that I've also seen this twice, like maybe 3, I don't know, something like that time. So it was still pretty new, but I wanted to ask you guys, do you think this movie was better to you the first time or the second time that you watched it?
I think it gets better every time I watch it, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah, and this is why. Because my point of reference in my life changes a little bit every time I watch this. And so I have an African-American brother. And so this is something that like has been on the back of my mind, because I can do something and act a certain way in public, and my little brother just genuinely cannot, because he's seemingly more suspicious to people, which I have no idea why, because a one-armed man, it's questionable.
I don't trust you.
Yeah, you shouldn't trust one-armed people.
I've known you for years. I still don't trust you.
But like it's
like, where's that one arm? He's hiding it somewhere. It's got to be there.
That is the number one
waiting
question
for it
I
to
get
pop
asked
out.
by adults and children alike. Where's your arm? And then I say, I just don't have one. And do you know who asked me? No, you don't. Is adults. Who says that comment more than kids? Like, kids will just come up and like feel me, like, right? But adults are like, well, what happened? Why don't you have an arm?
Well, to be fair, you have like a large like right pectoral muscle, and so when I first met you, if I didn't know that was like what was happening, I thought it was just like tucked in there.
Really small, tucked in. It's because I'm yoked, guys. No, but really, like, this changes for me every time I watch it because of experiences that my brother has, which is really weird to say, but like, my brother is being raised in rural Utah. There's a small population of African American kids that's really cool, that's down there, and they're all kind of like really good buddies. But at the same time, as much as I would like to say that the community I was raised in is overly welcoming of these kids because they've been raised with them, there's still like strange suspicions that they have. And my brother will just randomly like blurt out comments and be like, so-and-so said this to me today. Do you think that that's appropriate? Or do you think that that's something they should say? And I'll be like, no, they shouldn't really say that, but I guess it's what happens, and this is how you can react to it. And if I get pulled over, right, I'm going to have a completely different experience than my brother is going to have, which is similar to when they hit the deer in this movie, and the guy's just like, give me your license or registration, or give me your ID, and he's like, I have a state-issued ID, and he's honest, and then the white lady, she's like, the girlfriend, she's like, wait, why? What? Why? And it makes sense, but it's a sad reality of, and I think the movie gets better because I think the writing is good, but I also think the soundtrack plays a part in my emotions of it too.
The soundtrack is way good. And what you just said, I want to bring it up again in just a second. But for me, as weird as it maybe was, is that there was a podcast I listened to not too long ago, which was the Rogo Tours podcast. Shout out. Super good. It's another movie podcast from out in Saratoga Springs.
Oh, cool.
We're definitely going to get my friend Chad to be on here one of these times. We tried before, it didn't work out. They talked about the second viewing theory, which is like you never really actually know how you feel about a movie until you've watched it like at least twice. And so something that I thought about was like I still like loved this movie and everything, and the second viewing theory just made me realize like how smart it was and everything, just like watching it for the second time. But I think I enjoyed it the first time more because of how much suspense there was, knowing that something weird AF is going on, but just not knowing what it was. Like this time you could watch it and see everything and you're like, oh, okay, like that's what's happening. Like, oh, that's really smart how they did this and everything like that. But the first time, like when they're asking him all the weird questions at the party, and like when he goes upstairs and just everyone goes silent and just like looking up and waiting and listening, you're just like, what is happening? And it freaks you out. And then with the big reveal of this is what's happening, and it's weird. So yeah,
it's a completely different experience, the first viewing versus the second viewing. Because the first viewing, like you said, we watched it. It was me and my wife and one of my wife's friends, and she had never seen it before. and she kept like, she's not very good in horror thrillers, you know. I mean, she's fine, but she kept like, she would tell us certain things like, oh, I don't like this, you know, which I didn't mind as a second viewing, so it was kind of like, but I could kind of see her reactions, and it reminded me of my first viewing of it, you know, because she's like, what is happening through everything, and I'm viewing it as knowing what's going on,
Vince
you know.
is
So
looking
I
over,
had,
"Hey."
yeah, I had this going on at the same time. I had my second viewing knowing what's happening. I had her narration of her first viewing, trying to figure out what's going on, you know, and it's completely different. And I don't know if I would say it's better or worse. It's just, it's different because you're able, when you know what's happening, you're able to kind of connect these strings, or you can like view it in a different way. Like I said before, where instead of trying to figure out what's happening, I could be like, look at this guy, this old man in the young man's body, or look at this guy, the questions that he's asking him. And you start to understand why they're asking certain questions.
Yeah, it's like a completely different. It's like watching like a Shyamalan movie for the first time versus the second time.
Yeah,
Like watching The
exactly.
Village the second time, you're like, ooh, I know what's going on.
Well, and what's really cool is you pick up on like such different things, like you're saying, right? Like the way that he's portraying a character, or for instance, those behaviors, like when they were doing the auction part, and I want to talk about this later, like how they're drilling up to it. When they're doing the auction part, like the first time, I'm like, what are they doing with those bingo cards? You know, I'm like, what's going on?
Everyone has bingo. What is this?
Why are they all bingo, bingo, bingo? It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. But you see these little details, and it makes the movie slightly different, because I feel like there's multiple layers in each scene because everyone's acting different. The questions are different. Like I wrote down some of the questions. Oh, sorry. Do you have
Real
something?
quick, I just want to, going back to what you're saying about your brother, the way he's treated and the questions that he's asked, or like the expectations or whatever, because he's got different skin color than you do.
Yeah.
Like watching this the first time, that scene in the party where all these rich old white people show up and they're asking him questions like, you know, what is your experience as an African American man? Would you say there's more benefits or less benefits? You know, those kind of things. And it just comes off as just like, these guys are racist as AF. You know, like, are they really this disconnected from society? I mean, you expect it from a rich white guy, you know, but then on the second viewing, you watch that scene and you're like, oh, they're genuinely interested in this guy's experience, in this guy's lifetime experience, because they're thinking about sharing that experience with him. They're not just being racist. They want to become him, and they want to know if it's worth it, because it's pretty much a permanent thing that they're doing. So it's that kind of thing where it's like you're really getting this like this view of society on the first viewing, and just like thinking about how we can be better as a society and not be a racist person. And you watch it the second time, and like, oh, this is deeper than I thought it was.
Yeah,
you know?
and that's like the craziest thing. So I never noticed this earlier until kind of tonight. But there's the one guy, he's got the mustache and he's got like white facial hair and just kind of bald. Not bald, but he's just a huskier dude. And he says, you know, fair skin has been in favor, but black is back in fashion, essentially. Like, that's what he says. And then they ask, you know, hey, what would you say is your experience of the African American? And he turns to the guy who's been, you know, already, you know, what's his name here? I just forgot. Andre. And Andre is actually, they call him Logan in this. And he's like, you know, there's a point in this where he's like, I feel like I've known that guy my whole life. But I can't put my finger on it. But essentially Andre's like, whoa, and he's like, even though he's become like, the mind has become this African-American dude, he's not. He is this white dude through and through. And it's just like, oh, okay, so you want to be there, but you haven't figured out how to play the part.
God, watching him. Sorry, I loved his performance. He's in Atlanta, by the way, and he's one of the best characters in Atlanta.
He's also in Sorry to Bother You.
I haven't seen that one yet.
You guys
but
need to watch
If he's
that.
in it, I'd like to see it because this guy's great.
Yeah.
But his performance as this, acting as this old white guy, like, he walks in, he does that, and then his wife, his new like rich old wife, like pulls him away and goes to a different group of people, and they're like, you know, talking to him, and he does this like little spin around, like, look at me kind of a thing, and it's almost as if like the first time I saw it, it was like, oh man, he's like, his trophy wife is showing off her new young, new young sex slave, right?
Cougar.
Like
Because I'm pretty sure it's the
guy says.
same. It's probably just her husband, right?
Oh, yeah, in the
It's just
body.
her husband, but it's just in this new body. It's
And
like,
this is a guy that this group, they all know who he is.
Yeah.
And so he gets over there and he's just showing off his new body.
like,
But
hey.
for the first viewing, you view it as like the wife showing off her new trophy boyfriend. You know,
It's this cougar
It's like
with her.
half her age. And
what is it that the comedy relief buddy? I can't remember his name in it either. The TSA agent.
Oh.
He keeps saying like, "Get out of there, man! It's a bunch of rich guys. You're gonna be hypnotized and become their sex slaves." You know.
Rod from the TSA.
Yeah.
Rod Williams, TSA. Yeah, well, that's kind of like one thing that I thought about is like once you get into this kind of like this party, right, and you kind of see like there's a society that's been built around it. Like, so it's got to be like this big web of connections.
It's like a cult.
That's exactly what they describe it as, actually, in a couple of things I read. So, right, and we're jumping ahead a little bit, but we're going to go back and talk about this. But when he's down in the basement and it turns on the TV screen, right, and it's the old man, he's talking about his kids, and he's like, "And my own seed has perfected the method," you know? And straight up, you're sitting there, and he's like, "Behold the coagula." And there's actually like something, I pulled it up here, where it's describing and talking about what does a coagula mean, right? And so this is kind of interesting. Headed by the Armitage family themselves, members of the unusual secret society seek out, kidnap, brainwash, and finally trade places with healthy, youthful Afro-Americans via partial transmutilation, which to impact the brains of the members, right? But like these people have this little cult that they're doing it, and Rose, who's the girlfriend in this, her job is just to recruit.
Yeah, her and her brother.
Yeah. Does her brother? I think her brother more forcefully does
Yeah,
it.
he's the guy who wears the knight's helmet at the beginning and takes
Run,
Andre.
rabbit, run, run.
yeah, what a
run,
creepy
run.
way to start the movie, by the way, man. This soundtrack in this movie is spot on. Both with that one where it's like that light feel, along with like the super spooky feel, like we did like at the beginning with the Say Jalisa, Say Jalisa.
Yeah.
Which I don't actually know what they're saying, but I always say Jalisa, because that's my wife's name. So I'm always just like, Say Jalisa. And I said it last night while I was watching it. I was watching it on my
Do you
computer.
sing that to her whenever you see her?
Not all the time, but last night I did. Like when it was going, I was like, Say Jalisa. And she's like, stop it.
Knock it off, Josh.
Yeah, but him and so yeah, what's her name?
Who are you looking for? Rose?
Yeah.
Allison Williams.
So yeah, anyway, so Rose and her brother, their responsibility, and yeah, Rose and Jeremy, their responsibility within this cult is recruitment, I guess, or hunting in a way. Like they're the ones who are responsible for going out and bringing people back into this cult. Their dad is the operations. He's the one who actually does the
doctor,
the cutting open of the heads and swapping of the brains or whatever he does. The mom's a hypnotist who is able to push the consciousness down into the sunken place, which is the most terrifying thing.
Can we talk about that?
Please, can we talk about that?
Yeah.
That is such a scary idea. That you would be stuck as a passenger within your own body. I think there's a Breaking Bad. I think there's a Black Mirror episode about that too,
I think so.
where
Which one is
you
it?
can share consciousness with somebody, and the guy ends up sharing consciousness with his girlfriend, but she's always in the back of his mind.
Oh,
just,
yes.
stuck back there.
She like speaks, and then
Anyway,
he has her
'cause-
removed or something. Or
Well,
muted.
because she's
And put into
like,
like a doll.
well, because she's like,
Tangent. Oh, spoilers. Sorry, we're bad at this today.
crap.
Yeah, but you become like,
Well, because
sorry.
that one's super. Sorry, I love Black Mirror a ton, so I just finally jumped in. That one's super crazy because it's like she's like in a coma or something, and so she's gonna die.
Yeah, that's right.
And so then it's like put there, like in the back of her head and stuff. And
Yeah.
except for it gets so weird because she's gone, and so they can't like be together physically, and even then they're not like really together because she's just like a voice in his head. And so if he like looks at anything like online or stuff like that, it's just like she's like all mad at him, and then he ends up like you can't like kill them, because like even though they're just this voice in the back of your head, you can't like kill them. So he's like, okay, I'll be good. I'll like put her in the consciousness of like this rabbit, but it's just like you're stuck as a stuffed rabbit without being able to do anything for forever. And so it's like torture.
Yeah.
And so just like thinking of that same thing, and it's also so creepy. Like when she hypnotizes him at first, you're like, yo, she's got him like really good because of this thing that happened to him when he was a kid. But then like when she pushes him into the sunken place where she's like, all right, sink, and he's like, wait, no, and she's like, sink, and it shows him when he was a kid like watching TV, right? And it shows him dropping there and then just him falling away into the I'm getting like chills, guys,
And
thinking about that.
It's almost like when he's in the sunken place, he's looking up at almost like a TV screen, just like the TV screen that they use later in order to perform the coagulation. Is that what it's called? The mind swap. But I gotta hammer in again, like the idea of being a passenger in your own body and having no control over what's going on. I'm really gushing over the actor who plays Andre in this episode, but like again, his performance when the light flashes in his eyes and Andre gets control over his body again, and he like flips out and he's just like, get out, get out, get out. You know, like you can tell he's just been stuck there without knowing what to do, and his immediate reaction is just like fear, and you can just see it in the guy's face, and just goes after the main character,
Daniel Kaluuya. Oh, Chris.
Chris.
Just goes after Chris and just like trying to help him, like, get out of here, don't let this happen to you, this is a living hell.
Well, what's crazy about this, and this is the interesting part. So, right, the help at the house, right? Those two that are helping. So it is Georgina and Walter is what they call them, right? But they're just help at the house. So they're just hanging out there, right? And they're just doing chores. And the parents are kind of like weird. But like there's one part where Georgina is like pouring water or like tea into the thing, and she like zones out, right? And it's kind of weird because it's like, what's happening internally? What kind of war can be waged? And then later when Walter is like running at night, and then he goes out to just chat with him, right? And he's like, hey man, how's it going? They're really working hard over here. And he's like, I'm sorry, I scared you the other night.
Not anything I don't want to be doing.
Yeah, they keep saying like old white people things too. Like he's like, you don't want to be a rat or something like that, or a snitch. He says, you don't want to be I didn't mean to be a snitch, and she's like, a tattletale, you know, like
tail.
And then the grandpa in the other guy's body out chopping the wood, the scene you're talking about, where he's just, the way he's talking about Rose is really weird. Yeah, but when you know that when you know that it's her grandpa talking about his granddaughter, it's like, I see why you're acting so weird. It wouldn't be so weird if you were a little old man talking about her, but because you're not, it seems so off and just different and weird and creepy.
Yeah, but like my question is those pauses, like it seems like Andre, you know, that guy, he has pretty good grasp of everything, but were the grandparents super old when this happened, when they transferred over? Is that why they struggle like with speech and like with control, or like what's happening? Like my question is like, you're a passenger, right? And you're just floating through this water-like space that is nothing, and you see a small light, but what are they fighting over? Like how are they gaining control back and forth? And there's like different times, like the flash, right? Or when, you know, like Chris might try to be bringing up like, oh yeah, I get really nervous around too many white folks, you know? And he says that, and she kind of like starts to cry a little bit, and you know, and you're like, what's going on? And when you see it the second time, you're like, oh, she's fighting. And then
I wonder if it's like a strength of will, like depending on the person that you take, like the body that you take, maybe some people are weaker than other people, and those people are able to like make their way to the almost make their way to the surface, you know, like you said, Georgina fighting the tear going down and the freezing of the way that she speaks, you know, like I wonder if it's just based on the person just trying to escape, and some people are stronger than others or something.
Well, I
think that's what you're getting around to, right?
Yeah.
Well, because a lot of them they just look pretty normal, like when they're doing it. But Andre, when you see him, or Logan, he is like, to throw it back to like another episode of Black Mirror, he kind of looks like they do in that one episode, The Entire History of You, where they've got like the grain or whatever that you can like look back in your past or whatever. He's kind of got like the glossed eyes or something. And then when there's the flash and he can actually see, it like goes to his regular eyes, and you can just see like that fear, you know, like you were mentioning before.
I just love that so much, and I think it's such a fascinating thought process that there is a way that somebody can literally hypnotize you, drop you into like some weird subconscious state, and then you're no more. Like you don't have control of your facilities. Like that's freaky, man.
It's terrifying.
I don't want that ever.
Something that I wanted to bring up and ask that I mentioned earlier, like when we talked about how when they got pulled over and she was defending him and everything like that, how long, because obviously we know that something weird is going up, right? Once they get to the mansion and everything like that, how long do we believe that Rose is on his side?
Never.
Never?
I don't think she's ever on his side. I
No,
think,
no. Sorry, I mean like how long do we as an audience believe that?
Oh,
That's what I meant.
okay.
Sorry.
Yeah,
no, she's
I was
never
gonna
on
say
his side.
she's from the get-go playing this guy. Like
Yeah,
that's her
no.
job is to go out, trick people into thinking that she's in love with them, so that they'll come to the house without struggle and then take their bodies. The first time I saw it, it's been a long time because I saw it in theaters, so it was the first time I saw it, right? But I
2017.
remember up until she flashes the keys that I thought she was still an outsider of this family who just legitimately fell in love with this guy, and his family was taking advantage of him, because I didn't realize what was going on yet.
Yeah.
Well, and see, for me, I think it was the same spot, like where she flashes the keys, so you know for sure. But the first real wrench was like when he found the pictures, right?
Oh, right.
Of her with
Yep.
everybody else, and
Yep.
you're just like, what?
Yeah, I remember.
heck?
I remember that too. I remember seeing that, but then she plays it off really well afterwards, as if like she wasn't. The way
What
she
an
cries and the way
actress,
she, like I was buying it. I remember like that first time around seeing that and still going back and forth, like, is she really a part of this or not? Because she's playing this off like she really cares for the guy.
All
Well,
right.
What's really weird, I thought, was when he meets with, I don't remember where it was, when they go out by the river, the ocean or whatever, and the lake. They're just sitting there talking, and she's just like, "You're gonna leave without me," like like all this type of stuff, and I love you, and like it's like kind of like a weird, kind of like guilt type moment. Stay here, and he's just completely weirded out. I'm like, that's where I got my first like fishy thing. I'm like, that's weird. It's a little too weird because he was just like overwhelmed.
But then she had these like reactions to,
Or if I got the
stuff.
timing wrong on that, I don't know.
No, you got it.
Yeah, it's early.
But then she started having these like real reactions to some of the stuff that he would say. Like she was the one to be like, well, let's just get out of here,
Yeah.
Like if you want to go, let's go. It was her idea to leave, and then once they get up to the room, like she was the one making up the excuse why they have to go. He's like we have to get out of here, Rose, and then she's like, oh, the dog's sick, and so it keeps playing it off as if she's still on his side,
Yeah.
even though you're starting to question whether or not she is.
And the thing for me is that she was just like, oh, why would Georgina take the phone off? And like, there's all these things that build where it's like, yeah, I get that you're trying to help, but you're doing it in a weird way. She's good at acting and she's a great actress, but there's still just things that are just like, this is fishy. Like, you're too cool about this in ways, because I know, for instance, that if I don't know, like I would react way differently. Like, it's not that big of a deal, like, don't worry about it. Like, you're overthinking this. Like, those are the type of things that I would say. And she had that more emotional connection. So she's probably done this psychology thing for a long time, but I don't know. I just felt that she was really fake right out there by the ocean.
So while we're on the subject of Rose, we can talk about how we know that she's an absolute psychopath. There's three reasons. Number one, she lures African American people to her family's house where they basically kill them, like
That's a
they
good
make them
sign.
a backseat.
I mean,
okay?
it's
okay, right?
Yeah, you can start to see that she's a psychopath.
Number two, she eats Fruit Loops
One
without
at a
cereal or without milk, one at a time. Like, she's got a bowl next to her and she grabs one Fruit Loop and she eats it. And that's how she eats Fruit Loops. Or I'm pretty sure probably any cereal.
And
if
then
she
you're
does
like,
that.
this girl is really crazy.
Yeah. And then if you didn't think that she was actually crazy, they decided to drive the nail into the coffin. This chick uses Bing. Who uses Bing? I know that they were like, they probably had some deal with Microsoft, because I'm pretty sure someone pulled out like a little like Surface like laptop or something like during
his
it.
phone is a Windows phone. Like, a lot of this was totally had a sponsorship with Microsoft.
I don't care who you are. Less than 1%. This is a fake statistic. Less than 1% of the population of the United States uses Bing.
And it's
No
the
one.
psychopaths.
It's
That
the
1%
psycho.
percent
Yo,
is
if
the
you're sitting
psychopath.
next to someone and they're searching something up on Bing, get out of there. Get out.
Sorry, guys, you might want to leave the room then. I'm just kidding. No, that's the craziest thing is Rose is what you realize after, like, later in the film, right, when he's down in the basement and he watches this film and the family comes out all giddy and they're just waving away as the film shoots out. You start to see, like, these kids have been conditioned to do terrible things, but the brother, he's the one that's suffering, I feel like, the most, because his behaviors, like he comes in, he's intoxicated, like he's fast to anger and rage. Like, I'm curious if the brother feels guilt in all of this, because he seems to be the one who's the most affected by it, and Rose is more just like, whatever. Because the whole time they're just like, you're being a jerk to him, like, knock it off, you know? And they're like, oh, let's hopefully you change the subject by the time I get back with the snacks, you know? And he's just always been like, you could be a real animal, you know, and all this stuff. I'm curious how much this played like a negative effect on his life, because Rose is just, she's immersed, but he doesn't seem to be
both
immersed.
of them are have that negative effect. I mean, after she gets done with Chris, she's immediately back online looking for the next person she's gonna seduce.
Top NCAA prospects.
Yeah, and she's also, that scene when she's on the computer eating her freaky Fruit Loops the way she is and searching Bing. If you look behind her, you see all of those photos that he finds in the closet hanging up on her wall behind her, like trophies. You know,
I think she legit likes these people, but she just likes bringing them back and like the hunt more.
She enjoys this, and I think on the opposite end of the spectrum, Casey, like you're saying, the brother is just like physically dragging people, fighting people. I think he's really jealous of some of these guys that he's bringing back because they are so much more physically able to do things than he is.
Well, because think about it. Like, the entire premise of this movie is that these old white people, they don't want to live in their old bodies anymore. They don't want to die, and so they want to live in a new, young body. Obviously, he wouldn't want to be a passenger in his own body, but he's looking at it and he's like, we're bringing back all of these African-American people to do it because they think that they're better. And so he's like, these people think that they're better, and he's like, why can't I be good, like everything like that? And so it probably also has like a psychological toll on him like that.
Yes,
I can see that.
It's kind of bubba boom.
Bubba booey.
Makes you think of Parks and Rec.
Baba Booey?
Baba Booey.
Oh,
I know it's
I
from
immediately
something
go to
else.
Leonard. Baba Booey, Baba Booey, Leonard, get off the mics.
Leonard, get off the mics. I know about your YouTube channel. Oh yeah, see, that was good too. I think we've had this same
think so.
conversation before.
I feel like it's been in like 3 or 4 episodes now.
Yeah, you could probably cut it.
No, we're keeping this. Well,
That'll be one of our
here's a
trademarks.
question. Since we're having a little bit of a laugh here, what do you think about Rob and his theory right off the bat? Like his friend Rob Williams, who works for the TSA.
It's Rod, right?
Rod, sorry. I keep saying Rob, but it's Rod Williams. And he, like, right off the bat, like, you know,
He told us from the beginning.
exactly what's going to happen. He's like, Chris, get out of there. These people are like, you know, stealing black folks and like making them the sex slaves. And then he like, you know, he's just like, whatever. And then at the end, right, we like find out like his theory is true, but
yeah, it's close to being true.
yeah, but what's really interesting is I feel like he is a comedic relief in this film that's not out of place. Because, like, I don't know, what do you guys think about his character? Do you think, like, him going to the police, like, all this, do you think it may help the movie, or was it, like, more of, like, a hindrance?
No, it helps because this is the thing with horror. Unless you're there, I've talked about this before. There's fun horror, and then there's, like, horror. Like, The Witch is horror. Hereditary, Midsommar, you know? There's not much, if any, levity in those movies, and you're just left there feeling gross. This is a fun horror movie, and in fun horror movies they scare you and they get you on the edge of your seat, and they make you feel this tense feeling, and then they give you a sense of like relief with the comic characters, and that's exactly what he did in this, and he did it really, really well. Like, he was really funny through this.
Well, because a big part of this is that they also want you to feel like while something is up, they want you to feel like the family's trying to make you feel, they want you to feel, hey, everything's normal, like everything's good. You're just, you know, visiting your in-laws. We're throwing a big party. We're not trying to sell you.
Yeah.
Why would we do that? And so he definitely is that. And so, like you were mentioning, like right at the very end when he gets in the car, like after he just like killed all these people and almost choked out his girlfriend, he's just like, I told you not to go in that house.
Yeah, I told you. I mean, I told you.
I agree. I thought that made it such an enjoyable, like, it was like good comic relief, and it was a good break the entire time, but it wasn't detracting from the story, and it's just...
I loved that scene in the police station when he's pitching the story, and the first cop's like, hang on a minute, and goes and gets her buddies.
Yeah.
Just to like share in the comedy of this absolutely ridiculous idea that this guy has come up with.
And don't say I don't do anything around here, you know? He's like, and my boy, Chris, and he's gone, and I got his dog right
There's
here.
a stolen kid? No, not my boy, my friend.
Well, because also he's like, because it's also so awkward when you're watching it because he's talking to them and he's like, I'm TSA, which I mean, like, even though we do different stuff than you, it's the same training. And I say we deal with terrorists, so we probably know more than you. And so you're just like, oh, stop. Don't do this. I did want to bring up, like, I know this is like the very end, but we can also talk about other stuff just because it's more like a point, like a topic to talk about what we think about the alternate ending. Because Casey'd seen it, I'd seen it, Vince watched it like 5 minutes before we started this episode. I want to know what you guys thought, which one you liked more, but also pros and cons to both. So, like, for example, for me, while I did like the one that they ended up putting in the movie a lot better, I also think that the other one was really good because they mentioned a little bit about like what they were doing to find out and recoup or get these other black people who have been trapped in, or the white people are in the black people's minds back, because they don't give you that in the regular story, where in the one where he's there and he's talking to him in the prison, he talks about like they're trying to get information from him so they could find these names and go after them, because he's like, yo, Andre is like still out there, he's still, white person's got his mind, you know, like we got to do something. And so that I think was like the one part I liked about it, and just seeing how like happy also that he just was able to finish it.
Well, so giving a little bit more context to this, right? The two endings both end right after, essentially, there is Chris. He's strangling the girlfriend and Rose, and then he gets up, and there's like a police car that pulls forward. And in the ending that's in the movie, it's Rod from the TSA pulling up.
And he didn't kill her.
But in the ending they didn't use is actually two policemen. And I don't. Did he actually kill her? Did he strangle her?
I'm pretty sure he did,
so.
Because in the one he does it and then he lets go and she's like, and she like watches them leave. Where this one he does it and her head falls off to the side, and so I'm pretty sure she's dead.
So yeah, and then he is in jail, in prison, and he's wearing the orange suit, and he's like trying to get this information. Like Rod is trying to get this information from Chris, and he's just like, no man, let it go. I'm fine. I made it stop, right? Mm-hmm. And so, what do you think, Vince? Which ending did you enjoy the most, or which ending do you think had some more curiosity for you?
So I read that differently. That line where he's asking about the names. You're saying that he was looking. They were trying to get the names of the people who have been taken over, right?
Well, I think that they were trying to get the names of like the white people.
Okay, that's how I took it.
But
they
like,
were looking for all those people that were at the auction.
Yeah, like the cult. Well, because that's what I thought. But they wanted those names so they could get them, but also then get
save the guys. Okay,
yeah.
That makes sense. Okay, yeah. So I didn't like the alternate ending as much as I liked the original. I thought the original was so cool, and it gave you like a trope of fun horror movies is the one last scare. And how interesting is it that the one last scare in this horror movie is, I mean, a lot of the movie is about racism, right? And the last scare of this movie is a cop pulling up, and all you can think of is, oh crap, it's going to be that racist cop again, and he's going to get blamed for everything.
Yeah.
And he's going to go to jail because these white people almost literally just destroyed his entire life.
And so it wasn't like a jump scare, but it was like a real scare, you know, that people have to go through every single day of their lives. And it just like, again, it shines a light on this topic, this problem in society, and says like, look at where we're at. We need to fix it, you know? And so it wasn't this jump scare of the movie, but it still gave you this last like, oh crap. And then the comic relief, you know? Yeah. It was a really fun ending to me. And it tied it up in a way that I was like, okay, I can actually see Chris like getting away without the consequences of going to prison. The grandfather is the one who actually shoots and kills Rose, and then he turns the gun on himself, you know? So if they do come after Chris, he could be like, oh, this guy, this groundskeeper went crazy, killed the family, started the fire, started everyone on fire. I barely got out with my life, you know? Yeah. And then he's not going to be the one going to jail, and then he could go off and if he wants to try to save the people or whatever. Kind of leaves it open for a more happy ending than him being in prison.
What about scissors in one dude's leg?
I assume his body's all burnt up.
The scissors are still there, though. They got fingerprints.
True.
Well, they'd probably burn. I mean, like that would have a lower melting point. That would probably burn with the house.
He could still blame it on that other guy. Like with the fire that burned everything down, there's no real proof on what went on there. So he's the only one there to tell the story, and the only thing the cops have to go on is
his story.
this guy shot Rose and then turned the gun on himself, you know?
And plus, with a house like this burning down, where it was like the headquarters of a cult, I can imagine one of those side sheds or anything like that would have some old information in it, or even more modern information where they don't store it.
Didn't they mention at one point that they have or one more son that's in medical school?
No, that's this one. There's only
that's
two
him?
children.
Yeah, okay.
So there's two children,
Okay.
but like
That guy was in medical school?
allegedly,
He did not seem smart enough to be in
It's
medical
probably,
school, but
it's
I guess
probably,
I don't know.
it's probably homeschool medical school with his dad.
Yeah.
yeah, we're doing medical school in the basement, cutting craniums off white and black folks.
I mean, I guess I shouldn't judge, but this guy seemed like way too bro-y and party boy to be focused enough to be in friggin' med school,
That's definitely
brain
true.
surgery. I shouldn't judge, I guess.
I
Well,
mentioned
It's the mustache. I can't.
It's a weird
wispy-
one.
That wispy mustache.
I mentioned him stabbing him with the scissors earlier. That did bring me to another point I wanted to talk about really quick. What did you guys think? Which movie of Jordan Peele's is better? We have Us and we have Get Out.
Get out.
Yeah, I'd say Get Out.
I'd also say Get Out. Sorry, I like the suspense.
That's on the edge of my seat. there.
Here's where I'll argue for you, though. Like, I think that Us is a very well thought out film, and it's very creepy, right? But like, it was very predictable from the beginning. Like, I saw like what's coming, but I do this in a lot of films. I'm sorry, I ruined Mother for everyone, but
You didn't ruin it. I still didn't know. You were like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
I was
the
over
whole
there
time watching Mother,
cackling,
and I was
wasn't I?
like, what's going on?
I thought it was so beautiful. If you haven't seen Mother, you should watch it and then message
haven't
me,
seen it
DM me at Casey Yardley on Instagram, and let's talk about it. You can slide into my DMs to talk about that movie any day.
Yeah, I love that movie.
It's excellent. But in the reality of it, like, the reason I think they Get Out is just so good is because it was more realistic and more relatable. Like, everyone has family. Everyone has that sister or brother who brings someone home at one point, and you're a little bit weird around them, right? Like, you have weird interactions, weird conversations, just to get to know people. But obviously, my family aren't cultists, right? And but in Us, and why I think it's a great movie, but I think that the hard part for me was I didn't find it as relatable.
So you're saying that there's not a tethered version of yourself in the millions of miles of tunnels that exist under the United States?
No.
I guess we'll just agree. I'm just kidding. I obviously don't think that as well. And the thing is that I would also say that Get Out is better because, like you said, it was a lot more relatable and it was super, super original and just like crazy with like the story. Because a lot of times, like when they try to do like twist endings and stuff like that, it'll be twist and it'll either be really predictable or something that it's like, yeah, okay, like that's cool. And it's like, that's one of the endings I thought up in my mind. This one, I don't think you thought, hey, what's happening is that there are white brains inside of these black people. Like, they're doing this surgery, which is making this happen. Like, I doubt there was very few people who could have just guessed that. Mm-hmm. It was just so original, like, so creepy, but such an original idea for a horror movie that really wasn't, like, revealed until the very end, like, cluing you in when he's watching that video and everything like that. Mm-hmm. But I will say that I loved Us so much. Like, it's not that far behind Get Out for me. A lot of people were like, yeah, like, he didn't, like, hit a sophomore slump, like, with the second movie. They're like, but it's not that great. I loved Us. Like, I got 5 on it. Tethered Mix is saved on my Spotify because of how much I loved that movie. I listen to that song all the time, and just thinking about it now, it's like the whole thing is super creepy. I think I'm going to be like a tethered version of myself for Halloween. I don't know. Those red jumpsuits are expensive. But I loved Us. And I just think that I want to know what Jordan Peele's going to do next. Because I will watch whatever he puts out.
Didn't he say that all of his horror movies are going to be reflections of society?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
So
Sorry,
first,
I don't want to talk about Us.
Yeah, let's talk about
before
Us.
I go into that, I just wanted my opinion on Us. I loved it. I didn't get nearly as much out of it as some people did. It ended. I was like, that was good. I'm confused. And then I went and I watched all of the Us Explained videos, and I was like, whoa, like this is deep, and I would have never gotten any of this. And that's why it's really an incredible movie. Is like every scene in that movie, so I'm told and shown after I saw the movie, had something to do with the themes of the movie or what was going on or the reflection of society or whatever, that I just went way over my head. And so it's a harder movie to appreciate than Get Out is. Get Out is, I mean, on repeat viewings you get more out of it, but on the first viewing, that's what's cool. It's like on the first viewing you get something, on the second viewing you get more. You know, we talk about this every time we talk about horror movies, but like it's easier, it's more surface
The themes
level.
are like right there. For
Yeah,
you.
exactly. And Us was just harder to understand for me, and that's why I didn't enjoy it as much. I still thought it was a lot of fun and it was cool, but Get Out was just so much easier for me to enjoy.
We're going to talk about we're going to talk about something I wanted to mention really quick. My quick little Oscar hopes is that I'm going to butcher it and I'm super sorry. Lupita Nyong'o gets a nomination for Best Actress
Gosh, she's so good.
for Us.
You know, the first thing I saw her in was Black Panther.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know how I missed her. And she does that accent so well that when I heard her just like speaking normal, it threw me off. It was just like, oh.
What? And isn't she British? Doesn't she
I
speak
think she's
British English?
British.
Yeah, she's like
Yeah.
she's like from
She's in-
Africa, but also
She's
British.
gonna be in this new one. Or it might be out now. It's a new zombie movie.
Oh, yeah.
And it just, she looks so good, and it looks so good.
Yeah, that one where she's like on a field trip with kids, but then everyone is like turned into zombies, and so she's like trying to navigate these like
Yeah.
preschoolers like through a zombie apocalypse.
And like just like making excuses for like people being eaten. She's like, oh no, they're just playing.
"They're
Let's sing the
playing."
song, you know.
Has that
Is
come
that Little
out?
Monsters?
Little
That's what it's
Monsters.
called.
When does it come out?
It says 2019. Let me tell you right now. It looks like it's already out.
It might have flopped.
Oh, release date January 27th,
I think-
2019.
I think it was
January?
I think it was a festival movie, like
Yeah.
not Sundance, but something like that. And so everyone
Probably.
saw it there, and it's just not out to everyone yet, or is it out to
Probably.
everyone now?
Maybe
Let's
they're
see.
like doing bid and wars and stream services
Yeah,
or something
something.
like that.
Let me
so-
look really fast here.
Because I saw that trailer. I think you sent it to us, like in our
I
little
might
like
have,
texted
yeah.
group chat.
Oh,
and I
so
watched
it
was
actually just
crazy.
came out on so January 27th, 2019, it released at Sundance, and then October 8th,
Sundance.
2019, it released in the United States. So
Oh.
it just recently came out, actually. Sorry, I pre-read something before getting
I don't
the
think
full
I've
story.
seen anything for it like at theaters though. Maybe
Me neither.
It might just be like a select few, kind
Yeah.
of like Ad Astra or some
like
crap
have to
like
go
that.
up to Salt Lake or something to watch it.
Yeah.
Like that's what I had to do with Goldfinch. Is that they're only
Yeah.
showing it once every like forever. So, but yeah, so that's my little hope and dream is that she gets a Best Actress nomination. In my like crazy dream world, Us would get a nomination for Best Movie because that's how much I love it. But I know like the Academy and everything, and that's not going to happen probably.
Probably not.
But I would love it
All right.
because we'll also do our favorite movies of the year, and I will tell you that Us will be near the very very top.
We're gonna do a 2-part series, I think, with our favorite movies of the year. I've actually been designing the idea for it, so it'll be fun. But hey, let's hurry and like close out this podcast. I think we've gotten to a good place, but I just want to know in closing your complete thoughts. You can take a minute or two and just kind of rant about why you think The Get Out's a good movie, or what you hope from Jordan Peele's next.
Yeah.
stuff.
I think I've said pretty much everything that I want to. Like this movie's just so well thought out, well made. It's I don't know. It's just Jordan Peele is I mean they everyone says it. He's a horror genius. You know, he's proven that not only can he do comedy, but he's pro at horror movies, and I can't wait to see what he does next, especially if he does another one of these horror movies that reflects society, you know. I want to see where this creative mind takes us next, and I'm excited. This movie's great.
If a movie freaks you out, but then you realize that it's talking about the world we live in, that should freak you out even more. And that's what Jordan Peele does.
Yeah.
Vince mentioned it. Jordan Peele.
Also, I just want to say, if you're a Jordan Peele fan, I've this new season of Twilight Zone that he's producing.
it
This
good?
new series. It's actually really good. I've only
what I've heard.
seen 4 or 5 episodes of it, but they're great. Like, and I listened to a podcast of some of the writers that do that show, and they say that Jordan Peele is like there every day, helping, you know, produce, helping write, helping come up with stories. Like he's not just, it's not just his name on the show. He's actually actively involved in the show.
Dude, Jordan Peele is the man. I mean, he's got 2 incredible movies that are already out. I cannot wait to see what he's going to do next. He's doing that with The Twilight Zone. I mean, and you can always fall back on good old Key and Peele for, like, if you ever need something super humorous, Timothy and all that stuff. Just what a movie. And it just makes me think about it more and more when I watch it. Like I said, I think I liked it the first time just because I liked the suspense of it. But I just loved seeing how it all related together, and it's such a smart movie. Jordan Peele, Ari Aster, these are the guys who are moving the horror genre forward. These are the people who are showing the world what the horror genre can be, because it's not all jump scares and it's not all everything like that. While that will never lose its place in the horror genre of cinema, they're taking it to the new level and pushing the limits of what can be done with horror movies, and I am digging it.
Yeah, I like what Jordan Peele's done. I think The Get Out is just a great movie to watch. Honestly, it's not hard to watch. It doesn't the only part where I was grossed out is when they cut off the scalp. That was really what grossed me out.
I walked in on you watching that part, and I was like, "This is some good gore right here."
Yeah, that's exactly what he said, and I'm like,
Just watch the scalp come off. Okay, now watch the skull come off.
Just dropping it in a
You
bucket.
see the reflection of the brain. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. No, that's a good way. And when they're cutting it, it's like scoots out a little bit of blood. But no, I think that this film is like, it's an easy on the eyes horror film, but the soundtrack, the way it's shot, the story, everything is so well done that it freaks you out. And that's what I think is important. And when you're talking about Ari Aster and these people who are pushing the horror genre forward, they are doing a good job at using reality in a way. And that's really all I have to say. I hope that Jordan Peele follows up with something excellent, great, and wonderful, but I don't know what's coming out. But I do think that it's going to be good again. I think that Us wasn't a letdown. It was different. I think that's a good thing. But I'm looking forward to, his junior effort. So, yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. Anything else we want to add before we kind of close everything out?
Just one last shout out to Jordan Peele. What a guy.
Check us out on the social medias, on the Twitters, on the Instagrams. Casey's got our website up.
I got
It's
the
real
website
cool.
up. Also, I want to shout out Ty Lambert. I don't know if he always listens to our podcast, but he's good at commenting and doing stuff on our Instagram and socials. He's good at communicating. I posted that tonight we're talking about this movie, and he commented. He's like, "I love that movie," and I was like, "Thanks for commenting." Like, I feel grateful that he participates, because we're posting stuff and we want to have those discussions. So thank you for being a part of it.
Yeah, Tyler's been on the ride since the beginning. He's a buddy of mine that I used to work with.
Yeah.
And he wants to come on the show eventually. He just had another kid, though, so it might be kind of hard for him to get down here.
Oh,
But Tyler, man, thanks for sticking with us this whole time.
yeah.
Hope you can make it down.
Yeah. Thank you. But yeah, no, it's really exciting. Check us out on the socials. We got Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We got the website. We're going to be dropping some different show notes and different, our own little mini reviews. Nothing's going to be huge and desperately long that you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to want to read this. But we're going to keep it fun, simple, and we just want you guys to engage with us. So if there's nothing else to close out with.
What are we going to watch next?
Oh yeah.
So we were faced with a dilemma, which, don't worry, we'll still see both of them.
So we're going to nut up or shut up this time.
We are going to nut up or shut up. It is time. What we've been waiting for since the beginning of the year, Zombieland Double Tap, which I think either yesterday or today was released 10 years ago to the date.
Whoa.
And this Friday, it is coming out. Zombieland 2 is here. All of the original peeps plus more are going to be there. Get ready for some of the best comedy in zombies that you'll ever see, and we are going to be all over it.
And it's going to be fun. I'm excited. Are you excited, Vince?
So just a little teaser for next week. I don't know if I'm excited for this, guys.
No.
What?
Check back in here next week to see if I enjoyed it or not.
What?
These trailers haven't flipped my switch. But I will say, when Zombieland 1 came out, they didn't do it for me either. And I went and saw the movie, and it was one of the funniest movies I'd seen that year. So I'm hoping for a similar experience here where the trailers just aren't really doing it for me, and I sit down in it and they blow me away. But as of now, my hype's not big.
I just hope they just don't try to do too much, because the reason that the first one was so good was because it was just such a simple story, but it was made in a super original way, and it was hilarious.
And I found a love for Emma Stone there. So
that's the other one. We're hitting all of them.
I just hope he gets some Twinkies finally, okay? That's all I care about.
That's what he got at the end of the last one.
But he needs more.
He does. Hopefully Ronald Reagan had a secret stash in the White House or anything like that.
Those cigars are from the Clinton administration. Vince, I hope you like this movie. Because I want to talk.
I really want to too. I'm going in with an open mind. I'm going in with hopes that I will enjoy it. Hopes that my low expectations will make me like it even more. We'll see. Check back again next week.
But also, don't worry. We're also going to watch The Lighthouse at some point, and we'll let you know our thoughts on that one as well. Robert Pattinson, Willem Dafoe. It's going to be good as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that one. I'm not going to
Spooky
lie.
thriller. Black and white.
Spooky, scary.
Spooky season. Spooky, scary.
All right, folks. Thank you for tuning in as always. Casey, Vince, and Josh here signing out. We appreciate you, and we'll catch you next time.